Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to a new video for Star Wars Unlimited, the trading card game. This will, for now, will be at least a two-parter. The first part will go over the two-player starter deck, Luke versus Vader. And then the second part will go over a bunch of these 16-card booster packs. And this is for the base set, Spark of Rebellion. So I want to do in this first video, though, is going to be a little bit longer, just because I want to go through the rules. I'm not going to maybe hit every single little nod of it, but I do want to point out some interesting things for this. So this is a trading card game, so unlike some of the other Fantasy Flight games I've maybe done, like Arkham or Marvel Champions, where you buy it and you come to the full set, these are going to be, booster packs. So you're going to buy and get random cards. In the two-player starter deck, you of course are going to notice they list all the cards in the back, which is really cool. But you're going to get a couple of things. You're of course going to get our rule book, which we will look over in a moment. You will get two token sheets, which will have a bunch of things for tracking hit points, some 10s, some 5s, some 1s. They're all double-sided, as well as some epic action tokens, one for each player, and a first player marker or an initiative marker. We will get little deck boxes for each character, which I thought was really cool. Just as long as if you only buy this starter deck, then hey, you can put them right in there and just go ahead and have them ready to go. They just, fold up very easily. We will get two of these big, giant, oversized kind of posters of Luke and Vader, but they're also the playmats. So if we fold one out, and they're actually fairly big. I'm going to scooch this off to the side quick. So this will kind of be like our layout. So it's just, and then we'll obviously get our two decks. We'll have the Vader deck, and we'll have a Luke deck, of course, which we'll go over a little bit. But I'm going to kind of go over the basics of the rules. So, first of all, we're going to look at layout here really quick. Is each player will have a base card and a leader card. Your base is essentially your hit points. It'll tell you how many hit points you have. Currently, each one has 30, but that doesn't mean they might not have some of the in the expansions or later sets that have different amounts. So it's not a set amount always per player. It's wherever your base is. Maybe someone have a little bit more powerful abilities on their base, so they'll get more. They'll have less hit points, or maybe they'll have something that might change that. And then each player gets a double-sided leader card. Leader cards are really cool. So it has one side where you actually get kind of do like passive actions, and then you flip it over later and actually joins into the battle as a playable character. If they're ever defeated, they go back to their passive. So it's kind of been liking sort of like the commander of Magic, where you have a special guy out. Then we have a resource row, of course, deck discard pile. We have an initiative counter just to show who gets to go first each turn, which is an interesting strategy on this game. The other thing is we have space units and ground units. So you'll get... So this is kind of cool, because then you get to play as all your cool favorite characters, like Luke and Vader and Leia and Chewbacca and Boba Fett and R2-D2 and all these other cool characters. But then you also get to play as the ships as well. So we're going to get like X-Wings and TIE Fighters and Star Destroyers and stuff like that. But because they're two different kind of lanes, essentially, because then the opponent will have theirs facing the other direction, is that... So actually, if we go and we look at Vader's here, that was the Luke one. If we look at the Vader one, we flip his. His has ground units across from ground units and space across from space. Per game, like when you start up, it doesn't really matter which side one person picks one, and then that's the side he ends up going. But yeah, space can only attack space, ground can only attack ground. Very simplistic there. So I'm going to toss that to the side. We're going to pop out the rule book and get this. So one very unique aspect of this game, besides the leaders and the bases, there's a lot of really interesting new stuff in here. So if you played, I kind of want to say if you played other trading card games, you're just looking for something a little bit different, this does it. So far. So I'm going to kind of jump into the action phase. So the way this game is played is there is a full round. There is an action phase. where you get to play actions, do different stuff, do all your different things, and go through all that. Then there's a regroup phase. So there's basically 2 phases for every game. In the action phase, each player goes back and forth. So player 1 gets to do an action. They can either play a card, attack with a unit, use an action ability, take the initiative, or pass. Then player 2 gets to go. Then player 1 goes. Then player 2. So this is different from most typical card games, where player 1 gets to do everything they want to do. They get to play all their cards, do all this, do all this. Then the other player gets to... Then they're like, I end my turn. Then the other player gets to go. Instead, you're going back and forth. So it could be you could attack first, try and destroy one of their characters. Then they get to go, and they might play a card. And then maybe you're going to be like, no, I don't have anything to do. I'm going to pass. And then their turn, they attack you and destroy one of your guys. Then it comes back to you, and you can decide, okay, now that I've lost this guy, I'm going to play a different guy. I didn't want to play him until after he attacked because I didn't want to risk them getting destroyed. And then your opponent passes, and then you pass. And when both players have passed, you move to the regroup phase. Playing cards is fairly stereotypical of how games are. They have a cost in the corner. You pay your resources, pay the cost. Writing exhausted is pretty standard. Although all characters, resources, units and resources that come into play come in exhausted. Just kind of like Magic, right? They come in, you can't tap them right away to do stuff. There's some different information on each one we'll look at. There are event cards, so of course there's units you can play. And then there's event cards, which are one-time use cards. They come in, they do something, they leave. And there's upgrades that attach to your character. And then they have the nice little bottom thing down here so you can slide it underneath as a reminder, which is very helpful. When you attack, you can either attack straight to the base, which you just do damage. So this character does 3 damage to the base, boom. Or you can attack any unit. Doesn't matter if they're exhausted or not. And then you swap damage. So the blue way does 3 damage to the Stormtrooper. Stormtrooper does 3 damage to him. Since he has 7 health, he just to stay alive. Stormtrooper only had 1, so he dies. There's some other special things. You have to activate certain abilities on certain times before you do damage. Other things you can do is use an action ability, pay for the cost. Fairly simple. Take the initiative is a very interesting one. So one player can take this action each round. The player takes control of the initiative counter even if they already have it, meaning they will go first in the next round. After taking the initiative, you can't take any further actions for the rest of the game. You're considered to pass for all remaining actions. So if you have nothing else going on, you have no other cards to play, no actions to use, nothing else, you can opt to take the initiative. So that means when the next round starts, you get to go first. But it also means now your opponent can keep doing stuff to you as long as they can do stuff. I'm imagining the first couple of turns, that's going to probably like, it's probably going to be the way that someone does end their turn, because they'll probably be like, well, I can play a card and maybe I can attack. Until you get a couple of resources, you can play 2 or 3 cards. That's probably going to be sort of what you're doing, is in one person will take it. I can see strategies where you might be like, I want to go second because I like my opponent maybe to attack me first. And then this is kind of interesting. So you have the option of, you kind of have an option if you just by not taking that. Because you can always just pass. But with just passing though, is that if again, player A passes, player B gets to do an action. Then it comes back to player A. They have the option of doing something again. The only reason they wouldn't is if player A passes and then player B passes. As soon as both players have passed consecutively, or one is passed and the other one's used the initiative, which is again same as passing, then it ends. So you could try and like bluff your opponent by passing, hoping they'll play a card or do something, then you can come back and play something after you've seen what they did, but they could just be like, nah, I passed, and then it ends the round. And you've wasted your entire action that turn. So it's kind of an interesting idea. Your leader's a really neat card. You get to, they start to have some sort of extra ability you can always use, and then you can, after a while, you gotta use your epic action, which I think of both of these, it's a different amount. It's 6 for Luke, 7 for Vader. You can flip them over and make them a character in the game. Then during the regroup phase, you draw cards. You draw 2 cards from your deck. Then you can resource a card. So you can take one of those cards and play it as a resource. So this is a thing that a lot of newer games have been doing, as opposed to like Magic the Gathering, is you have any of your card in your deck can become a resource. It's always nice you get to pick which one, and you don't have to choose one of the ones you just drew. You could pick a different one, but it kind of limits you. That means you're never going to have access to those cards again until maybe an expansion when they have something that lets you pull a resource back out to reuse it. But I don't think anything in the base game lets you do that. And then you ready all your cards and start the next round. So yeah, end of your turn, you draw 2 cards, look at what you want, and then now you get to start going. So a little bit different. Alright, so one of the other then unique things about this game is the aspects. So each card will have, each leader will have potentially 2, and each base will potentially have 2, and then a bunch of the cards will have different icons as well. And your deck is essentially made up of these colors. So, like, if we look at Luke here, he has Vigilance and Heroism. So that means you can include blue and tan cards in your deck. Or Vader has Aggression and Villainy, so you can include red and black in your deck. But what is neat about it is, I'm going to skip to the deck building part of this, is this is what's actually kind of cool. So 3 copies of each card. So your leader and your base each provide icons. Your leader provides 2, and your base provides 1, giving you 3 total icons. So you can have 3 different icons. So it means, oh, I can have 3 colored decks all the time. Kind of. And this is what's really interesting about this deck building. Most cards in your deck have 1 or more aspect icons near their cost. You can include cards of any aspect in your deck, but when playing a card with an icon not provided by your leader or base, you must pay 2 extra resources for the missing icon. This is called aspect penalty. So what this is saying, so if your base provides a blue and a tan, and your leader provides a blue and a tan, or I'll call it white, blue and white, and your base provides a red, you can play any single card with those 3 colors. You can play any card as a double combination without an issue. Any single one of green, yellow, or black would cost you 2 extra to play. A card with green and white would cost 2 extra because you have the white, but you don't have the green. A card with 2 blue would cost 2 extra because you only have 1 blue icon. And a card with a green and black would cost you 4, 2 for each. So that's really interesting. So if you have cards that have double symbols on them, you have to pay extra if you don't have both symbols. So you might build a deck that has double, like 2 blue in it, like a blue leader and a blue base, because then that way you could put lots of heftier blue cards in there. But yeah, if you put a card, so like in the Luke deck, for example, here we have Han Solo, who has yellow and white. So for me to play Han Solo, I actually have to pay 9 instead of 7, because I don't have yellow as one of the colors for Luke. Oh, I lied, because he does, because he has one there, so that'd be fine. I think the base game, they probably tried to make that without an issue. So it's like, yeah, all the colors in there. So yeah, you can have 3 different colors without any extra cost, as long as each card only has one of those symbols. But if they ever have a double symbol, I'm trying to see if any of these cards did, but I don't think any cards in the starter deck do. I think all of them are going to be playable just fine, which makes sense because it's a starter deck. But yeah, that's kind of a neat way to do it, right? So you're not being locked into specific colors. They just have to cost more, so you're not going to include too many. But there could be like one card you're like, oh, I would love to put this Boba Fett card in my Luke Skywalker deck because he has this really cool ability. But, you know, he has, you know, the wrong color. Like, I don't know what color he would be. Let's say, for example, he's just a villain, right? He's a villain, right? And I don't have a villain in my Luke deck. right? I can still play him. He's just going to cost me more. So then you have to justify it. For your combo or for your deck use, is that 2 extra costs going to be worth it? Again, if he's like I said, of Han Solo, which you can play, but like if I had to pay 2 more, I had to pay 9 for Han Solo instead of 7. Is he worth that 9? Like, as opposed to if I had a level 1 character that's now it's 3 costs, right? You know, like, by putting R2 in R2-D2 in Darth Vader's deck, is he worth that extra, is he worth 3? For a 1 cost drop, is he now worth 3 points? Probably not. Maybe higher level cards might be, but it's a neat thing you can do. Yeah, so that's a very interesting way this game works. There are also a couple of keywords we're going to go over really quick. I think we'll go over the decks here in I'll do a second video for part 2 for the decks, just because we're already going a little bit long in this. So you have Ambush. After you play this unit, it may ready and attack the enemy unit. This unit doesn't ready if there are no enemy units to attack. Grit. This damage gets +1 attack for each damage on it. Overwhelm. When this unit deals damage to an enemy unit while attacking, deal excess damage to the opponent's base, so trample. Raid, while this unit is attacking, it gets extra power equal to the raid value. For example, raid 2 gets +2 attack. Okay, cool, so bonus just when it's attacking. Restore, when this unit attacks, you damage from your base. A restore value. Again, you can put lots of these and see where they're basically like Magic the Gathering type abilities. Sorry to keep bringing up Magic, which is one of the most popular and common card games. Saboteur. This unit attacks, ignore the Sentinel keyword on enemy units, and defeat all shield tokens on the defender. Sentinel. Enemy units have the same arena ground space as this unit can attack your non-Sentinel units in this area or your base. If you have multiple units of Sentinel, your opponent may choose which of those to attack. So it's kind of cool, like forces them to attack them. And then Shielded. When you play this unit, give a shield token to it. If any amount of damage would be dealt to a unit with a shield token on it, prevent that damage. And defeat 1 shield token on that unit. Yeah, that's really cool. And I think they also have some token cards in here too. So experience gives a experience token gives the attack unit +1/+1, and a shield token prevents any amount of damage being dealt to the attack unit, then is defeated. Cool. So that's the basis of the game. Right, so this is going to be interesting to go through, and see what kind of cards, especially when we get to the booster packs, to see what's in each set. But I like the idea of going back and forth is a little bit more engaging, because then it's, I've played some, games of like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon back in the day, and some of them games, when you're playing against another opponent, even like deck building games I played, like, right, even though like you're behind a team, or if you're kind of playing competitive, sometimes it gets a little boring sitting there waiting for someone to, I'm playing this card, and I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to dig through my deck to do this, and I'm going to play this combo and this. And you have to sit there and wait and wait. And when they have, 6 mana out or six resources out, and they can sit there and keep playing cards and pulling this, and I spend 2 to play this, and spend 4 to do this, and I play this. Like, right, it can, 1, get boring to sit there and wait for someone else to take their turn. And then 2, if they're doing a ton of this, creating a big combo, and they've just built it up, here, you're going to have the option of constantly interrupting someone's combo, right? Like, I'm not saying a specific card, but let's say, for example, somebody has a card that, like, let's say it's a Han Solo card, right? And it's like, he gives +2 attack to Chewbacca, right? So someone puts him out, and then they're like, oh crap, he's going to probably play a Chewbacca to give Chewbacca a big bonus. So let's say Chewbacca has Sentinel. So he also forces guys to attack them. So, right, so now Chewbacca's already going to be forced to take the attacks, and he's going to get extra attack out of it. Right, and then let's say they also have like a Leia that says all, hero characters gain an additional 2 HP. Great, that's going to make Chewbacca just a tank, be hard to defeat. But the thing is, rather than just trying to take out Chewbacca, you could be trying to take out Han Solo or Leia first. So depending on which order the other player plays out, maybe they have Chewbacca out first, but then he's taking too much damage before you get the other cards out. But if you have Han Solo out first and you know that's what he's going to do, you could try and take him out before he gets Chewbacca. Because you having a chance to either play a card that might like put someone out, that might like remove a character from play or defeat somebody. There's different options to do in between. So you could possibly shut down someone's combo before they get it started, because they only get to play one card. So as of right now, I don't believe there's any sort of instant cards you can play during your opponent's action or reactions. They'll probably call it something like that. There might be in the base game, it doesn't mention it in the rule books. I don't think there is. And that could maybe also turn people away from the game, because then it's kind of like, I go, you go, I go, you go, but like you can't do anything during the opponent's turn. But I also feel like this kind of like hits into people that like War Arcana, because that has the same similar feel. Although you take your turn, then your opponent takes their turn. There's really nothing you can do during your opponent's turn to affect what they're doing. And this is sort of the same way. Like, yes, I can interrupt my opponent's combo because I go in between each turn, but I can't maybe not necessarily stop them from playing a card. Like, they play it, they have it on the table. And then, so it'll be interesting. We'll have to go through all the cards and sit there. So yeah, come back, check out part 2. We'll go through the 2 starter decks, and check out part 3. We'll go through 10 booster packs, which might take a little bit longer of a video to go through all of them, but we will definitely see. Alright, see you guys then. Bye. Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to Star Wars Unlimited Sparks of Rebellion Starter Deck, Part 2. So this is the Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader Starter Deck. So Part 1, I went through the rules, kind of show off some different stuff, talk about that. And then this part, we're actually going to go through the 2 main decks, and then we'll have a Part 3 to go through the sets. So first of all, let's look at our Luke Skywalker deck and see some stuff. We're going to look at some of the different information on the cards as well. I didn't go over any of that during the rule book. So here's a leader side. He has some keywords, Force and Rebel. He has his 2 different aspects, which are the white one, which I believe is the rebellion symbol, is heroism. And then the blue one is vigilance. So he can play blue and white cards in his deck. Of course, on his name, he has Luke Skywalker, subtitle Faithful Friend. But right by his name is a little star. The little star means he's a unique character, means you can only have one of these in play at a time. So one Luke Skywalker. I'm assuming it's always unique towards the bolded name and not the sub-name. So I would imagine if Luke is my leader, I don't believe I can have any other Luke Skywalker in my deck, period. Regardless of whether he's an ally or not. Or like a regular card or not. Then on the very bottom here, we have, of course, our Fantasy Flight games and stuff like that. Lucasfilms Limited. SOR for Spark of Rebellion, English. S for starter deck, I'm guessing. Card number 5 of 252. In our box here, we have action. You can spend 1 and exhaust him to give a shield token to a heroism unit you played this phase. So that's kind of cool. So it's, you can boost up one of your guys with him. And then he has this epic action. So you only get 1 epic action per game. So if you control 6 or more resources, flip this leader. Deploy this leader, flip him, then move him to the grounding area. It shows down there, kind of. He shows him becomes a 4/7. So it's not like hidden information. But if he ever gets defeated, he comes back and he can always still act as your leader and give you his action ability. So that's kind of cool. So he's not just like out of the game. You just won't be able to replay him again. If we flip him over, we'll get to see some of our some of our other things. So it has a cost of 6 because that's how much it costs to play him. It's also because there might be things that reference that. Leader unit, he's a ground unit to show which side he goes on. All the other stuff stays the same. He has 4 attack, 7 defense. It says on attack, you may give another unit a shield. So I believe, and I'm not going to guarantee this, but I believe all the leaders have very similar abilities on both sides. So there's one he can exhaust and spend in action to give a shield, and here he can just give another shield a unit. But there is a big difference in these two, is that this says, give a shield token to a unit played this phase. There has to be someone you played during this phase. This one is just when he attacks, you give a shield to another unit. So if on like turn 1, like anytime I play a character, like turn 1 through 6 before I flip him, I have to place that token on the turn I played them. So, yeah, it's like I just start with 1. So if my first turn, I could play a 1 cost unit and use 1 to exhaust him during the same phase to give that guy a shield. But if I play a 2 cost unit, I won't be able to play this because I won't have enough resources. So that's kind of cool. Alright, then we're going to look at, I'm going to set this down here. We're going to look at our base. We have the Administrator's Tower in Cloud City. So this has a C on the bottom, so I'm assuming common, 30 health, and the color yellow. So that means this deck has blue, white, and yellow in it. And yellow is, of course, cunning. It just says it's a base. If we flip this over, it's going to show Luke Skywalker's deck list. So our commons, our uncommons, got a couple of rares in there. And that's kind of really nice. I'm going to assume that if you draw one of these cards in the game, it's not going to have that. But that is kind of nice for starter decks to be able to have a list somewhere what cards in there. So if you ever want to recreate that. We do have a couple of token cards as well. We have token upgrades. Just as an experience card. So, this is a keyword learned. So token 1 of 2. So there might be something that ends up giving you an experience, gives you 1 attack and 1 power. Or defense. And then the other side we have shield, which is an armor. If damage would be dealt to an attack unit, prevent that damage. If you do defeat a shield token on it. You get 3 of each of those. So what is neat about these as well is because if I have Luke and I give him a shield token, I can now just do this. And I know he has shield. Or if I give him an experience token, I can do this and know he has +1/+1. So you have to try and figure out kind of like where to put the tokens to make sense. So that's actually really fun. Alright, let's go ahead and hop into them. These are the back to the cards. The Star Wars Unlimited. Very, very, I don't want to say bland. Minimalist. Like, right, they didn't just put the Star Wars logo and leave it as there. But they did add a bunch of extra things. Alright. Alright, so we're going to go through this. So we got, I'm not going to read through all the different costs and all that. These are ground units, you can tell. We'll see space units are obviously going to be very easily to tell for space. There's some really good artwork on these cards, too. Yeah, we got a 2-1B surgical droid. It says, on attack, you may heal 2 damage from another unit. Cool. We got 3 copies of R2-D2, ignoring protocol. Ooh, so that is interesting, right? So the surgical droid does not have a special subtype under it, but then R2 does, because he's probably a unique version. When played in on attack, look at the top card of your deck. You may put it on the bottom of your deck. Otherwise, leave it on the top. Cool, a scrying type effect, which is always handy to have. And this is going to go in cost order. So these are 1 cost. We have 3 copies of the Alliance X-Wing, which is a space unit, Rebel Vehicle, and Fighter. 3 copies of C-3PO, Protocol Droid. When playing non-attack, choose a number, then look at the top card of your deck. If its cost is a chosen number, you may reveal it and draw it. Ooh, so he's going to combine well with R2. R2 can look at a card, see what's on top of your deck. Hey, it's a 3. I know I need a 3. I can afford it. Now you could play C3PO or attack with him. And you can obviously know what it is. So that's pretty cool. Nice little combo between them right away. The Rebel Pathfinder. Saboteur. When this unit attacks, ignore a signal and defeat the defender's shields. A very good way to get rid of shields, make these guys targets. We have the restored, 2 copies of Restored Arc 170. It says Restore 1. Unit attacks, heal 1 damage from your base. We have 3 copies of Leia Organa, Defiant Princess. When played, either ready a resource or exhaust a unit. Oh, so that's really cool. So when she plays, so you play her for 2, you can ready a resource, and now you have another one. So it's also neat because at the beginning of the game, you start with 2 resources in play from your hand. Sorry, you draw 6 cards and you play 2 resources. So you could play her on your first turn, ready a resource, and use Luke's ability to like give her a shield, or you could play an R2 unit right away and have him ready to go. That's kind of cool. Or you could exhaust your opponent's thing, right? They play first. They played, whatever, one of their, who's a stormtrooper, right? That's basic guy for Darth Vader's deck. She could play her right away after them. I mean, like, they go first, they play stormtrooper, you play her, you exhaust their stormtrooper so they can't attack with them then the next turn, because they can play or attack. Well, actually, it comes in exhausted, so it wouldn't matter anyhow, but, I mean, you get the idea. That's cool. Rogue Operative who has Saboteur and Raid 2. So it's a lot more powerful when they attack. We have 3 copies of the Fleet Lieutenant. When played, you may attack with a unit. If it is a rebel, it gets +2 attack for this attack. I do love that the colors are they show them up in the card, right? So red is attack, blue is defense. It's like easy enough to tell, but it's just that nice visual reminder. Why not? Right? It lets you know that that's what it is. That's really cool. Yeah, if you attack with a unit. So yeah, you get to play him, then you get a free attack right away. So that's one way to get around the 1 attack per your action, right? We have the Wing Leader. When played, give 2 experience tokens to another friendly rebel unit. Now this is neat, because you play this, and you can give it to a ground unit as well as a space unit. So depending on which way. The only thing it has to be is another character. But again, he could work well at that Fleet Lieutenant, right? Boost him up, and now that guy can attack with 2 extra experience tokens. That's cool. For a 3 cost, we have Yoda, Old Master. Force and Jedi. Restore 2. I love also that the keywords are in big, bold letters. Just helps you stand out that that's what they are. So eventually they'll probably stop having the, like, flavor or reminder text on there. When defeated, choose any number of players. They each draw a card. Interesting. So why it says any number? Because I'm gonna guess you can definitely play multiplayer games of this. And have multiple people. I'm not entirely. I mean, obviously it's just gonna work like any other probably Chaos or Magic game. You have to see if the baby can attack anybody or only attack the guy on your left. But that's definitely neat as well. What's another reason for making your opponent draw a card? So I didn't go over this in the rules. I forgot about this till right now. But this is actually a really cool aspect of the game I want to look at. Because this is why. When you run out of cards in your deck, you continue playing with the cards you already have. Anytime you draw a card from an empty deck, you instead deal 3 damage to your base for each card. For instance, when you draw 2 cards during the regroup phase, deal 6 damage. So that's actually a really neat idea of you're like, why would you ever want to make your opponent draw a card? Because if it empties their deck or their deck is already emptied, they're going to start taking damage to their base. And right, if their deck is empty and Yoda gets defeated, you can make them draw a card. They've just taken 3 damage. Then during their regroup phase, you have to take another 6. It's 9 damage in 1 turn, right? So that's pretty cool, right? Because then that way, like, 9 out of 30, that's, going to hurt them a little bit. So that's pretty fun. Then we have Cloud City Wingguard, which has Sentinel units. In this arena, can't attack your non-Sentinel units or your base. This is also neat. They put this in, like, a little bold thing. Just as, like, to stand out. So you're like, okay, I have to attack those guys first. This is Fringe, which is interesting. System Patrol Craft, who has Sentinel as well. We have 3 copies of Consular Security Force, just some rebel troopers there. I love how the stormtroopers always have all this big old body armor on, right? And the rebel guys are like, we have these hats on, but otherwise we're just kind of wearing like our Sunday casual outfits. Kind of interesting. The Azukuk Liberator gunship, who has ambush. After you put this unit ready to attack an enemy unit. Now it does have to attack an enemy, so you can't attack a base, but that's still pretty good. General Dodanya Masasi Group Commander. Other friendly rebel units get +1/+1. So you can see you're definitely getting a rebel theme in this deck. Makes sense. Snowspeeder. Ambush and on attack, exhaust an enemy vehicle ground unit. Interesting. So I always wonder if when they specify vehicle and they specify ground is my... Oh, I get it. I was like, why are they saying that? Because, yeah, these guys are ground units. And then there's space units. But there are ships that are on the ground. Oh, I didn't even catch that before. Right? I just assumed I assumed like space was vehicles. And ground was, that's pretty cool, right? There's ground vehicles. Okay, cool. I love that. Here's our Chewbacca, loyal companion, who has Underworld in it. Interesting. Sketchy. He has Sentinel. He does have Sentinel. I just said that as randomness. When this unit is attacked, ready him. That's pretty cool. So he can attack back very quickly. Vigilant Honor Guards. When this unit is undamaged, it gains Sentinel. It's just kind of neat because it's like in the box, but it's not as prominent. It's an interesting way to do that. Alright, getting to our high cost cards. So we have Obi-Wan Kenobi, Following Fate, Force and Jedi, Sentinel, and when defeated, give 2 experience tokens to another friendly unit. If it is a Force unit, draw a card. So this could be good and bad for you, again, because your deck runs out. You have to take damage as well. So you might opt to not give Luke a bonus, because I think he's the only other Force character in this deck. Just so you don't have to, because it's not, you may draw a card. It says, if it's a Force unit, you have to draw a card. So kind of interesting. And our last character, or unit, is Han Solo, Reluctant Hero. Ambush, and when attacking, this unit deals combat damage before the defender. If the defender is defeated, it deals no combat damage. That's cool. Don't know why that's not just a keyword, because I imagine that's going to happen fairly often. It's first strike. Awesome. So now we're going to look at some upgrades. So we have Resilient. So it's Resilient. It's innate. So at the bottom, it'll say again what it's called, and it has a keyword. Gives you 3 defense. Luke's lightsaber. Attached to a non-vehicle unit. When played, if attacked unit is Luke Skywalker, heal all damage from him and give a shield token to him. Awesome. Gives him 3 attack and 1 defense. And we actually got 3 copies of that. And we have 2 copies of Repair. Heal 3 damage from the unit base. I love that these events also put the picture on the bottom. So you can easily tell what a unit is. Like, you can tell an upgrade because it has the thing on the bottom for what it's going to do. You can tell an event because it has the picture on the bottom. So it helps you, like, just visualize your cards a little bit quicker. They made this game very, very well like that. Shoot Burst, which is a trick. Attack a unit. It gets +1 for this attack and deals its combat damage before the defender. You can only attack with a ready friendly unit. If the defender is defeated, it deals no combat damage to the attacker. Nice. Lets you attack all of your turn as well. We have 2 copies of Asteroid Sanctuary. Exhaust an enemy unit. Give it a shield token to a friendly unit that costs 3 or less. 2 copies of Surprise Strike Tactic. Attack a unit. This gets +3 for this attack. You can only attack with a ready friendly unit. 2 copies of Waylay. Turn a non-leader unit to its owner's hand. And finally, we have 3 copies of Vanquish. Defeat a non-leader unit, so just straight up defeat anybody. That's pretty fun. Alright, this video is going pretty long, but we're going to go ahead and just keep trudging through it. We're going to get through the Vader side. We have Darth Vader here, Dark Lord of the Sith. Action, spend 1 exhaust. If you played a villainy card, this phase deal 1 damage to a unit and 1 damage to a base. For 7, you can flip him. Force, Imperial, and Sith. And it says on attack, you may deal 2 damage to a unit. And he is 5'8", so he's pretty powerful. His base is the command center of the Death Star, which is green. There's the deck listing if you'd like to pause it and look at that. Otherwise, I'm going to keep hopping through. We do get our 3 experience cards. Tokens, same thing. We have 2 copies of Kai LN Fighter. Just a space unit. We have 3 copies of the Death Star Stormtrooper. Admiral Azel, Overconfident. Exhaust. Playing Imperial unit from your hand, paying its cost. It enters play ready, and each opponent may ready a unit. Interesting. So I don't think we had any cards in Luke's deck that had exhausting abilities, did we? Other than Luke. Lots of Sentinels. We had some Rebel stuff in there. Couple Restores. But yeah, nothing. Yeah, on play, on defeat, on attack, but no exhausting abilities. So that's kind of interesting. 2 copies of First Legion Snowtrooper. While attacking a damaged unit, this unit gets +2 attack and gains Overwhelm. So again, we're looking at a little bit more of aggressive deck, which is the red. It's aggression. They're going to do more damage when they're attacking guys that have already been hurt. 3 copies of Admiral Moti, Brazen and Scornful. When defeated, you may ready a villainy unit. 2 copies of Snowtrooper Lieutenant. When played, you may attack a unit with if it's an Imperial unit, it's +2 attack this attack. So we're really pushing on the Imperial on some of the lower cards here. 2 copies of Viper Probe Droid. When played, look at the opponent's hand. Not a bad thing. Generally not always a fan of having to look at the opponent's hand because I'm generally like, I don't honestly care what they have necessarily. This game, I could see it being potentially being a lot more helpful just because you'd be able to know, like, okay, if I'm going to play a card one of these turns, am I going to have to worry about them having a destroy card in their hand, right? Interesting. Admiral Pete, Captain of the Executor. Each friendly non-leader unit that costs 6 or more gains Ambush. Interesting. He's very low cost, but he boosts up 6 cost guys, so we're going to get a lot of 6 cost guys in this set. We haven't seen any really thing, like Leia's the only card we've seen so far that ramps up playing resources. And I say that, and we get Super Laser Technician. When defeated, you may put this unit into play as a resource and ready it. And we have 3 of those. So yeah, these guys come out, let them get defeated. Interesting it'll be is, like, can you defeat your own characters? Like, if I can do damage with someone, can I do damage to my own guys? Like, right? So if I use his ability, if you play a villainy card, deal 1 damage to a unit and 1 damage to a base. Can I just throw damage on him? I mean, I don't see how there's any reason why I can't, right? Like, I could use Vader's ability to take out my own guys to gain extra resources quicker, right? Interesting. Seems like a very mean thing to do. 3 copies of his cell block guard, who has Sentinel. We have General Veers, Blizzard Force Commander. Other friendly Imperial units at +1/+1. So a lot more Imperial linkage in here than there was Rebel in the Luke deck. 3 copies of Grand Moff Tarkin, Death Star Overseer. When played, search the top 5 cards of your deck for up to 2 Imperial cards, reveal them, and draw them. Interesting, that's pretty cool. 3 copies of Imperial Interceptor. When played, you may deal 3 damage to a space unit. So very specific, but not bad at all. The TIE Advance. When played, give 2 experience tokens to another friendly Imperial unit. So some of these do specify friendly units. You can't give them, like, you can't boost up your opponents for whatever reason. I don't know why you would ever want to do that necessarily. Unless there's something that would ever be like an effect that says destroy a guy that has 3 or more attack or 5 or more attack, and you might want to boost up one of their guys for that reason. I love when you have the ability to do stuff like that. So here's a ground vehicle, ATST, Chicken Walker, who has Overwhelm. We have the 2 copies of that one. Gladiatorial Star Destroyer, 1 copy of this capital ship. When played, give a unit Sentinel for this phase. Cool. The Blizzard Assault AT-AT. The Walker. That's awesome. When this unit attacks and defeats a unit, you may deal excess damage from this unit to enemy ground unit. That's awesome, and it's a 9/9. That's nuts, right? I don't think we have anything in the other deck that's even that high, right? 6/6 for Han, 4/6 for Obi-Wan, 4/6 for Honor Guards, 3/6 for Chewbacca. You get a 7 for defense or HP for consulate guys. Yeah, but nothing that's a 9. So you can basically take out anybody. Awesome. And our last one is Emperor Palpatine, Master of the Dark Side. Overwhelm in 1 play, goes 6 damage, divided as you choose amongst enemy units. 6/6, and he does 6 damage. Of course he does. Alright. And we're flying through the bigger side a little bit quicker, I understand, but it's pretty straightforward. Vader's lightsaber. We only get 1 copy of this. Interesting. Oh, no, here we go. We had a card flopped around. So we're going to look at last unit card, Relentless, the Constantine's Folly. The first event played by each opponent this round loses all abilities. Oh, boy. I mean, it's great that it sucks that it hurts you as well, but shutting off your opponent's events each round. Ooh, boy. Alright. Then we have 3 copies of Vader's lightsaber. Attached to a non-vehicle unit. When played, if attached to Darth Vader, it may deal 4 damage to a ground unit. 3 and 1. How does that compare to Luke's lightsaber? Just out of curiosity. So, yeah, they have the same attack and same defense. So that's nice. It heals him and gives him a token, shield. Vader just straight up does damage. So Luke gets to heal one of his guys. What is Luke's health at? I am just curious on this. He has 7 health. Okay. So it's not like he can jump in. But 7, if he attacks, is this, you deal 4 to him. And then now he can turn around and do 3 plus, what's he, probably a 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, and he's already knocked down, so he can easily defeat Luke now. Recruit. Search the top 5 cards of your deck for a unit, reveal it, and draw it. So there's some good searching cards in this one. Force Choke. If you control a force unit in this event costs 1 less to play. Deal 5 damage to a non-vehicle unit that unit's controller draws a card. Cool. We don't have a lot of Force guys yet. So far it's just been Obi-Wan and Luke and Vader and Palpatine. But I'm sure you'll get more in the expansions. Resupply puts this event into play as a resource. So again, this is very interesting. So we have a way to we actually have cards. I spend my action. So on turn 2, right? Because turn 1, you start with 2 resources. Turn 2, at the end of the phase, regroup phase, you play another resource. So on my next turn, I could play this for 3, right? And then get a 4th resource right away. And I at least have 1 to spend. It's exhausted, so I wouldn't have any more to spend that turn. But then my next turn, I'd already be up 1 more than my opponent. So I'd play another one. I'd be at turn 3, I'd have 5 out. So that's kind of cool. We have 3 copies of Open Fire, deal 4 damage to a unit. 3 copies of I Am Your Father, a Gambit. Deal 7 damage to an enemy unit unless the controller says no. If they do draw 3 cards. Oh my gosh. Sorry. I love that. Right? I'm gonna deal 7 damage to you, which is Luke's health, right? His normal health. It basically, Vader's like, I can defeat you by saying I'm your father. Unless Luke is like, no, you're not. You're not my father. You know it to be true. I'm gonna search my deck for these 3 cards to find the truth. That's I love that. I hope there's more cards like that. That's exciting. Alright. Maximum firepower, Imperial Tactic. A friendly Imperial unit does damage equal to its power to a unit. Then another friendly Imperial unit deals damage equal to its power to the same unit. Oh boy, they're just going to gang up on a guy. That's awesome. And our last card is Overwhelming Barrage. Give a friendly unit 2/2 this phase, and then it deals damage equal to its power divided as you choose amongst any number of other units. Awesome. To give this to that AT-AT Walker, makes him an 11/11, and then spread that damage out. Yeah, that's the only thing I would definitely question is, can you do, when it just says, deals damage to any unit, right? Because it's not saying attack. I understand I can't attack my own troops, but I can deal damage. I'm assuming I can deal damage to my own guys. Right, you have a big enough one, you could take out that, one guy that's like, oh, he had cost 3, but he has 1 HP, then he becomes a resource. Boom, hit a guy, I can deal something like this, right? You could play, you could take 3 or 4 of them guys, all of a sudden gain, a bunch of energy right away at resource. Alright, so that is what we have for the Spark of Rebellion, Star Wars Unlimited starter deck. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Come back, check out the booster packs with me. We have a Leia artwork, a Chewbacca artwork, and a Thrawn artwork. So hopefully get some really cool cards. 16 cards per pack. I don't know what the rarities and all that are. We'll find out. See you guys then. Bye.